You wouldn't know it to look at me walking through the halls of the high school where I'm the principal, but my home life is a shambles. My name is Sarah, and while I've managed to carve out a respectable career in San Diego, my personal life has been teetering on the brink. I'm 34, a mother to twin 4-year-olds and a lively 1-year-old son. My husband, David, once a passionate graphic designer, has let his career and our relationship gradually fade. What hurts isn't just the disengagement, it's the eerie calm with which he's surrendered, leaving me to juggle our finances, our children's endless needs, and my demanding job. You see, while I was building my career on integrity and hard work, David's contributions dwindled. His absences grew longer, and his excuses became flimsier. I often caught him lying about where he had been, his phone buzzing with texts he hurriedly swiped away. Our arguments would end with him turning away, muttering about needing space. His parents lived just down the road. One would think they might offer a helping hand or at least some moral support, but no. They turn a blind eye to our struggles, more focused on their financial woes. They sometimes expect me to fix it. It's just a rough patch, they'd say. Marriage is full of them, dismissing my worries like dust off their shoulders. The tension reached a boiling point last month. It was a Thursday evening when the sunset painted the sky in strokes of orange and pink, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in our dining room. David had been quieter than usual, his eyes not meeting mine. The kids were at my mother's, a rare evening alone that might allow us to mend things or talk openly. But David had other plans. I think we should get a divorce, he said abruptly, sliding a stack of papers across the table. His voice was flat, emotionless. I don't want to drag this out, and I don't want to fight over custody. I think it's better for the kids if they stay with you. I stared at him, the words not fully registering. You want to leave us? I managed to say, my voice a mix of disbelief and anger. It's for the best, he replied, standing up to leave the room. I'm not good for you, Sarah. You and the boys will be better off. The shock gave way to a numbing clarity. It wasn't just his withdrawal from us, there was someone else. The signs had been there, and I'd chosen to ignore them, buried under the weight of daily responsibilities. But now, faced with losing what I'd worked so hard to keep together, a fire ignited within me. No, I wouldn't let it end like this. I called my lawyer friend the next morning. I need to know what my options are, I told her, and I need to know how to protect my boys. She promised to help, and as we delved deeper into the legalities, she suggested something that hadn't crossed my mind. Let's see if he's telling the truth about why he wants out. Sometimes the reasons are more financial than personal. The next few weeks were a blur of meetings, phone calls, and late nights poring over bank statements and credit card bills. I became a detective in my marriage, tracing the outlines of a betrayal that went deeper than I'd ever imagined. As I dug deeper, I uncovered more than just a trail of deceit. I stumbled upon a financial abyss. It turned out David's parents had coerced us into covering their gambling debts with the pretense of a medical emergency, debts they never intended to repay. They had gambled away their savings, and now they were gambling with my family's future. The revelations stung, not just the betrayal, but the sheer audacity of it. And with each discovery, my resolve hardened. David and his parents would have to answer for the chaos they'd caused. But how deep did the deception go, and at what cost would my pursuit of the truth come? The stakes were higher than ever, and as I prepared to confront them, I knew I was stepping into a battle that would change our lives forever. But I was ready, for my children, for myself, and for the justice we deserved. David's indifference had grown into a gaping chasm. His late nights and secretive calls now made twisted sense, but knowing betrayal was at play didn't prepare me for the web of lies I'd uncover. I started pulling on threads, and the whole fabric began to unravel. It all began with a simple enough task, sorting through our financial statements, which David had always managed. I'm better at keeping track, he'd insisted early in our marriage. Trusting him, I focused on our boys and my career. Now I pored over every transaction, every withdrawal that didn't make sense. There were payments to unknown accounts and charges from places David should have had no business with, literally and figuratively. I enlisted the help of a forensic accountant, a contact from my lawyer friend who raised her eyebrows more with every document she reviewed. Sarah, there's a consistent pattern of large withdrawals around the same dates every month, and look at this. She pointed at the screen, showing payments to a luxury apartment downtown. These apartments are far beyond what a freelance graphic designer could afford on an erratic income. It seems he's maintaining a lifestyle you weren't privy to, she concluded, her tone a mix of sympathy and indignation. Fueled by these revelations, I confronted David one evening. His face, usually so unreadable, flickered with something I hadn't seen in a long time. Fear. "Sarah, I can explain," he stammered, but I cut him off. "I don't need your explanations, David. I need the truth. All of it." His confession poured out like water from a broken dam. The apartment wasn't just his, he shared it with someone. "It started as nothing serious," he began, a cliché that made my heart sink further. "But it became more over time. I was going to tell you when... After you drained our savings," my voice was cold, foreign to my ears. He had no answer. The man who'd vowed to be my life partner had gambled our future on a fling, undermining our stability with every secret rendezvous and every penny spent on this other life. But it was the next part of his tale that turned my blood to ice. The money wasn't just for him or his lavish indiscretions. David's parents were more deeply involved than I had suspected. They knew about his affair, covered for him, and worse, they had encouraged him to take money from our joint account to cover their gambling debts. Playing on his weaknesses, his fear of losing their love, and the debts they threatened to disown me if I didn't help. David confessed, his eyes not meeting mine. Their manipulation knew no bounds. They had exploited their own son's failings to keep their heads above water, not caring if it meant pulling us under in the process. My next steps were clear. If David and his parents believed they could use me to clean up their messes, they were sorely mistaken. My response had to be as calculated and cutting as their deceit. I spent nights strategizing with my lawyer, laying out the groundwork for what would be a devastating legal battle. I would file for divorce, yes, but on my terms. We would go after not just the dissolution of marriage, but also the full disclosure and repayment of every unaccounted dollar. David's parents would not be spared either. Their complicity had signed them up for the fallout. As for custody, I told my lawyer, my voice steady, "I want full custody of our boys. He's proven he can't be trusted with finances. How can he be trusted with their well-being?" She nodded, her expression grim yet determined. "We'll make sure the court sees it that way, too." As we prepared our case, a quiet rage simmered within me. The man I had loved and the family I had trusted had all betrayed me. But they had underestimated my resolve as a mother, as a woman scorned. I was ready to fight to reclaim not just my finances, but my dignity and my children's future. Little did I know the biggest storm was yet to come. David and his parents would not go down without revealing secrets that would shake the very foundations of what little trust remained. It was during one of those long nights filled with strategy sessions with my lawyer that we uncovered something that would turn the tide in ways I hadn't anticipated. It wasn't just any secret. It was the kind of revelation that could shatter lives. "We found something in David's financial transactions," my lawyer said, her voice a mix of excitement and seriousness. "It's not just the gambling debts or the apartment. There's a series of payments made to a private investigator." I froze. A private investigator? What was he investigating? She paused, flipping open her folder. "It seems he was looking into someone very close to us, Sarah. He was investigating you." The room spun as I absorbed her words. My mind raced, trying to piece together why David would hire someone to watch me. Was it to find grounds for the divorce or something more sinister? But as we dug deeper, the true purpose became horrifyingly clear. The investigator had a secondary client, my lawyer continued. David's parents. Not only were they funding his betrayal, but they were also orchestrating an attempt to paint me as an unfit mother, using whatever means necessary to strip me of custody and protect their financial interests. The depths of their betrayal know no bounds, I whispered, fury building with each breath. I realized this was more than just financial. It was a complete assassination of my character. Armed with this new information, I decided it was time to confront David directly. We met at a neutral location, a quiet park where the autumn leaves whispered secrets to the wind. As he approached, I saw a flicker of the man I once loved, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. "David," I began, my voice steady despite the chaos inside. "I know about the investigator. I know your parents are involved. How could you let it go this far?" He looked away, shame finally etching his face. "I thought I could control it," he admitted. "I thought it would just be about the money and then I could leave quietly." By destroying me, I asked, the hurt evident despite my resolve. It wasn't supposed to hurt you, he said. It was supposed to be clean, but my parents, they have a hold on me, Sarah, you know that. Holding you to destroy your family is not love, David, it's manipulation, I said coldly. We stood in silence, the space between us filled with the echoes of a marriage crumbling under the weight of deceit. Finally, David looked up, his eyes meeting mine with the glimmer of the man who once vowed to stand by me. Sarah, I'm sorry, I want to make this right if there's still a way, he said. His words opened a possibility I hadn't considered. Could David turn against his parents to help me? Could we use his testimony to strengthen my case and perhaps salvage a future for our children out of this wreckage? I need to think, I told him, turning away to hide the tears brimming in my eyes. As I walked away, the pieces of my next move began to fall into place. With David potentially on my side, we could expose his parents' full extent of manipulation and greed. It was a risky play, but it could potentially end this war once and for all. In the final chapter of my saga, I, Sarah, found myself at a crossroads that seemed both a conclusion and a new beginning. Armed with the truth and a potential ally in David, who seemed repentant and ready to make amends, I faced the decisive court day with a mix of dread and determination. The courtroom was silent, a stark contrast to the storm that raged within me. As the proceedings began, I sat straight, my resolve as firm as the evidence stacked in my favor. David was there, his posture betraying a cocktail of regret and nervousness. His parents, on the other hand, sat rigid, their faces masks of defiance. When it was time, David took the stand, and for the first time in a long while, his voice carried a tone of sincerity that I hadn't heard in years. I was wrong, he admitted, glancing over at me with a look of sorrow. He detailed the plan orchestrated by his parents to paint me as unfit. A narrative they hoped would sway custody and shield their financial misdeeds. His testimony was a turning point. The judge listened intently, nodding occasionally as the layers of deceit were peeled back, revealing the depth of the betrayal. When my turn came to speak, I stood, my voice steady but filled with emotion. This was never just about money or mistakes. It was about integrity, about protecting my children from a legacy of deceit. I said, the judge's verdict was delivered with a gravity that matched the weight of our ordeal. David's parents were found liable for the full amount of their debts, including punitive damages for their attempt to defraud their son and his family. Custody of my sons remained with me, the court recognizing the stability and love I provided. As for David, the judge granted him supervised visits, acknowledging his efforts to right his wrongs, but reserving judgment on his fitness for more, until he proved his change was genuine. Leaving the courtroom, the relief was palpable, but so was the sorrow for what could have been. A family torn apart by greed and fear. David approached me, his eyes hopeful yet sad. Sarah, I'm truly sorry. I hope one day you and the boys can forgive me. I nodded, not ready to fully absolve him, but recognizing his attempt to mend his ways. We'll see, David. Time will tell. In the weeks that followed, the dust settled. I strengthened my resolve to rebuild my life, to focus on my boys and my career. The financial restitution helped close the wounds, but the scars remained as reminders of the ordeal. One evening, as I watched my sons play in the backyard, their laughter a balm to my weary heart, I realized that while the storm had passed, it had left us changed. We were scared, yes, but stronger, and as the sun set, casting long shadows across the lawn, I knew we would be okay. We had weathered the storm, and in its wake, we found not just survival, but a chance to thrive. Let's conclude the story. In the aftermath of the courtroom drama, life began to settle into a new rhythm. The scars of betrayal remained, but they no longer defined us. David, despite his remorse, had a long road ahead to earn back trust, but his willingness to change offered a glimmer of hope. As for me, I focused on rebuilding. My boys became my anchor, their laughter and hugs reminding me of what truly mattered. I threw myself into my career, finding solace in the challenges it presented, and with each passing day, the wounds of the past began to heal, replaced by a newfound strength. David's parents, facing the consequences of their actions, retreated into the shadows. Their attempt to manipulate and deceive had failed, leaving them to reckon with the fallout of their greed. But amidst the chaos, there was also forgiveness. Forgiveness for David's mistakes, forgiveness for the pain inflicted, and forgiveness for the shattered dreams. It was a journey fraught with obstacles, but it was also a journey of resilience and redemption. As I watched my boys grow, their smiles lighting up the room, I knew that despite the storm, we had emerged stronger, united in our determination to carve out a future filled with hope and possibility. The road ahead would be uncertain, but we would face it together, armed with the lessons learned from our tumultuous past. In the end, it wasn't the trials we faced that defined us, but rather how we rose above them, finding strength in the face of adversity and love amid chaos. And as the sun set on one chapter of our lives, I knew that the best was yet to come. Thanks for watching. How did you find the story? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more awesome stories like this. Your feedback and support mean a lot.